I'm no stranger to Nuzlocke. I've been around on YouTube for a long time now. I was around when the Nuzlocke meta was new. I was around when Nuzlocks were losing popularity. Yeah, I'm sure that's what was wrong with them. And I'm still around now when Nuzlocks are everyone's favorite Pokemon content again. I even did my own Nuzlocks of Pokemon Coliseum and Sonic Forces and Wii Sports. Okay, the Pokemon Coliseum one wasn't particularly glamorous. Yeah, I wish that video was better, that's my bad. One type of Nuzlocke I've never been able to finish though is a randomizer Nuzlocke. So I randomized Pokemon Ultra Sun, loaded it up onto my captured Nintendo 3DS, which, by the way, if you didn't know, it's actually extremely easy to mod your Nintendo 3DS. Anyways, I forgot for multiple months, so a randomizer for Pokemon Ultra Sun sat dormant on my 3DS for around 6 months. Until now. I decided to stream my randomizer as a Nuzlocke, not knowing what I changed, and as it turns out, too much. Encounters? Randomized. Evolutions? Randomized. Items? Randomized. TMs? Randomized. The only things that were really left unchanged were the Pokemon themselves, and even then there was some crazy stuff in this run. So yeah, this is my Pokemon Ultra Sun Randomizer Nuzlocke, because I had to choose the game that would make that even more of a mouthful. If you want to know the rules, read the description. I'm not going over them here, and you probably know how a Nuzlocke works, and if not, you'll figure it out pretty fast through context. This journey starts like any other. I'm the new kid in the Alola region, which means I have to get a move onto Route 1 to get attacked by a wild Yungoos. Luckily, Rowlet, Popplio, and Litten saved me, and when given a choice between them, I said, "Fuck you, I'm picking Nidoran female." When asked to nickname her, I made the terrible decision of asking my chat what the theme should be. There was the obvious answers, like the old reliable food theme, but the one I landed on was Pokemon game titles, which led to this poor little creature being nicknamed Ultra Sun. Unfortunately for me, picking Ultra Sun means that House started with a Wynot, which, if you don't know, is an absurdly bulky Pokemon for this early on in the game. Now you may be saying, Winter VA, Wynot doesn't learn any damage dealing moves until level 15. And yes, you're right, that doesn't make it any less of a pain in the ass to knock out a Pokemon with an HP stat of 95 that can spam Charm. After an absolutely painful few minutes, Wynot finally dies, but as the plot stuff comes to an end and the first day shifts to the second, I acquire Professor Kukui's balls and catch my very first Brilliant Diamond, the Hippopotas. But unfortunately, this route has more in store for me than a single funny-looking hippo with an unfortunate ability. Preschooler Oliver is a monster! This kid may seem like an unassuming character on any normal playthrough of this game, but in this randomizer, he was a monster! His Diglett tore through my sanity in a way that I can't very well describe. Alolan Diglett is a Steel type, and if you didn't know, those aren't very easy to deal with in the early game. On top of having every resistance it could possibly need to make it a pain in the ass to deal with, it also has access to Sand Attack and Metal Claw. So when it wasn't making it so every single move Ultra Sun and Brilliant Diamond used missed, it was hitting pretty hard and increasing its own attack stat. By the time I have -5 accuracy, it's using Metal Claw, but the turn I switch out, it's back to Sand Attack. Look, I can't stress enough how infuriating this Diglett was. I'll let the gameplay speak for itself. There's not much we can really do against a Diglett. It has an attack boost, it has tangling hair for its ability.
We're gonna lose the run to a Diglett. This isn't going great.
This isn't going well. Youngster Jimmy decided you don't get to play the game. Well, two can play at that game, Youngster Jimmy. This motherfucker has 2 attack boosts now. Spammed Sand Attack. We are in a really bad spot. Oh my fucking god.
He's kicking our ass.
I am -5 accuracy. This just set my mood into
worry,
like a downward spiral immediately. Alright, I'm gonna risk sacrificing Brilliant Diamond just to get off a few Sand Attacks. 1 HP.
Oh, 1 HP clutch.
It's literally -2 accuracy and has not missed once. I'm losing my— oh, thank. So after the disaster, it was time to battle Hal at the festival in Icky Town. Hal led with a Bounce Suite, which, you know, can only learn Splash and Play Nice until level 9, but then my past self had come back to haunt me because Hal still had Wynot. Don't get me wrong, Wynot still can't do anything. But this rival battle takes place like 15 minutes of gameplay after the last one, and that's in a normal playthrough. In this playthrough, I had to deal with that Diglett too, so you can see how it got a little frustrating. The one saving grace here was finding it hilarious that out of all the Pokemon in the world, Hal got stuck with 2 Pokemon that don't learn any attacking moves until long past the time they're useful. The next day we catch a Morolol named Troze and a Bergmite named Stadium 2, and unfortunately Troze gets murdered by a teacher Scraggy, getting an unfortunate critical hit mere seconds after I joked about not playing around its crit range. After absolutely obliterating Illima's Smeargle that fate decided he should still be allowed to have through the randomizer, and catching some new friends named Rumble U and Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, it's on to the first trial. The trial itself isn't too bad, although there is a scary encounter with a Serperior in the cave. What the fuck? But the totem Pokemon was the real thing to be afraid of here. See, normally this totem Pokemon is a Gumshoos, which is a pretty strong normal type for this point in the game, but you'd also have access to Pokemon like Hawlucha or Makuhita by this point. But for me, Clang. Clang is a very strong Pokemon for this point in the game. It has a very high defense stat, a free +1 boost to its special attack in this battle, and access to both Thundershock and a Gear Grind, which could both easily deal a lot of damage to a lot of my team. But through the power of friendship and using Curse a lot, Rumble U is able to take it out with Metal Claw. Trekking back through the cave, my encounter is a male Combi named XD. This isn't relevant to the run in any way, but I thought I'd mention it because come on, is there any nickname more fitting for a male Combi? On the way to Melee Meadow, I caught a Magmortar named Pokepark 2, which, you know, yes. Ultra Sun also evolved from Nidoran female into Whirlipede. Yeah, this was the first evolution of the run, so this was my first introduction to the fact that you never know what something is going to evolve into. It's like a gacha system, but instead of paying money to see what anime waifu you're pulling next, you're paying time and experience to see your adorable little starter evolve into the Pokemon equivalent of a tire. After Pokepark 2ing all over the Ultra Recon Squad's Vileplume, catching a Beldum named Coliseum, and making a fool of Hao yet again, it was time to face Hala, the kahuna of Melee Island. His strongest Pokemon was a Pidgey, on to the next plot point. After going around Melee and catching Black the Krokorok and Pokedex 3D Pro the Tepig, it was time to head on to Akala Island, where Hao challenged me to a battle with his new and improved team. Well, his Wynaut evolved into a Gothorita, which to be honest is an overall improvement, but this whole team is bodied by Krokorok, so there was nothing to see here. After beating him, Beldum finally evolved into Cosmoem, because we can't have nice things. On the route after that, I caught a Nidorina, who I nicknamed Ranch since, you know, we caught it right next to a ranch, and since I happen to have a Moonstone already, I decided to evolve it, and luckily it evolved into Venusaur, who is my favorite Kanto starter. At this point in the run, I felt unstoppable. My team was undoubtedly strong. Pokedex 3D Pro the Monferno, Ranch the Venusaur, Black the Krokorok, Pokepark 2 the Magmortar, and Ultra Sun the Whirlipede. Sure, a little more variety in typing couldn't hurt, but hey, that's what Rumble U is there for. Wait, that's grass type. But whatever. At this point, it felt like there was no way this game could humble me. But with the obvious foreshadowing out of the way, the next in line to try to kick me down was Gladion, who, I mean, he was actually tough, shit. He led with Growlithe, which, you know, easy win for a Krokorok with the love of using Sand Tomb, but then he decided it was time to pull out the big guns with Unpheasant. If you noticed one thing about my team, it may have been that it was not very well equipped to fight flying types, let alone a fully evolved one. Luckily, Black had access to Ice Fang thanks to the randomized TMs with full compatibility, but that could have been bad. It almost was bad. Gladion's final Pokemon was Yungoos, which, haha, funny joke about Donald Trump here. Just outside Brooklet Hill, I picked up an Alolan Sandshrew named Bank, and since the Pokemon Center was selling Ice Stones, I took the opportunity to evolve it into Mega Mawile. Yeah, that's an immediate add to the team. A permanent Mega Evolution? There is no way this game can humble me. The totem Pokemon of Brooklet Hill ended up being a Totem Subviper, which, you know, somehow manages to be less intimidating than Araquanid. Sure, it called a Watchog for help, but that's sort of the equivalent of telling your cat to call 911. Like, yeah, they probably hear you, but they're not going to do anything, especially when the person assaulting you has a permanently Mega Evolved Mawile. What a fucking stupid analogy. After humiliating the Ultra Recon Squad again and managing to survive the Battle Royal Dome by taking advantage of Cosmoem's absurd defensive stats to ensure that I couldn't be knocked out, it was time to go to the Whale Volcano Park. The totem Pokemon here was Mightyena with help from a Machamp, and I mean, you have to expect me to win at this point, right? I've already said there's nothing the game can do to humble me. After fishing up Let's Go Eevee the Tyrogue...
So this one's Let's Go Eevee.
Yeah, that sounds right. Let's go Eevee. And force feeding it candy until it evolved into a sock, it was time to face Mallow's Trial, a totem Gliscor. But this time there was a newfound sense of bloodlust in the air. I thought the battle would go the same as the last few. I had Blackout to hopefully knock it out with Ice Fang since, you know, I thought I could trust the 4x weakness to be enough to get through the +2 defense, but unfortunately Gliscor had other plans. It called a Carnivine for help. My thoughts at the time were that my best bet was to attempt and freeze Gliscor with Ice Fang and then switch out to handle Carnivine. Gliscor managed to get Black down to red health, and while Black did manage to freeze Gliscor with its dying breath, Carnivine unfortunately got in a Vine Whip, resulting in the first major death of the run. But Black's death wasn't in vain, as Gliscor stayed frozen for the rest of the battle, allowing for an easy victory. After laying Black to rest and adding the young goose that hatched from the egg at Paniola Ranch named Box to the party, and then force-feeding it candy until it grew wings, it was time to head on to Diglett's tunnel. Now, normally the only Pokemon you'd be able to catch here is Alolan Diglett, which I have bad memories with. Luckily, though, this is a randomizer, so naturally my encounter was...
Yeah.
Why?
What? What?
Why does this one stay the
same?
same? So, after fittingly adjusting my overlay, I named Diglett after my least favorite Pokemon game and added it to my party, then stormed through the rest of the cave. I caught a Golurk who was pretending to be a police officer before heading off to search for the kahuna, but got ambushed by Plumeria, the admin of Team Skull. She led with an Alolan Raichu, which was scary at first, but I mean, Alolan Raichu only knows Thundershock, Tail Whip, Growl, and Quick Attack, so it's super easy to knock out. But her Clink posed the real problem. See, I underestimated Clink. I thought, oh, it's unevolved and we beat a Clang earlier, without thinking, oh, this Clink is higher leveled and has access to Gear Grind. So, unfortunately, due to me being a little too cocky, Bank the Mega Mawile died. This death served as yet another chilling reminder that, yes, I have an advantage here. Yes, the odds are in my favor. But so long as I keep playing like an absolute dumbass, I don't stand a chance. As the one leading these Pokemon, it's my duty to make sure they're able to survive even the hardest battles, and if they die, that's on me. Bank didn't deserve to die the way she did, nor did Black or even Troze, and all that blood is on my hands. So with my resolve shaken slightly and Plumeria's Clink melted to a puddle, then it was time to fight Olivia. I mean, I had a Naganadel at this point. What do you think happened? After beating Olivia, it was time to go to Aether Paradise. I met Luzamine, who, one sec trying to suppress my urge to complain about how bad the plot in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is, talks about how she wants to save the Ultra Beasts, and then Necrozma itself just waltzes through a wormhole with a +2 special attack boost. To say this was terrifying would be drastically underselling it. Luckily, with some well-timed heals, we were able to survive for around 7 turns before Necrozma decided to flee. But if it had stuck around for a few more turns, I probably would have run out of healing items, or worse, it could have crit box and proceeded to sweep the rest of my team from there. Dulce and Zasivaka explain that they're from another world and Necrozma's gonna steal all of Alola's light if it ever manages to come through the wormhole, which, you know, a little late to be saying that, but whatever, on to Island 3. Hao tries to fight me again, but he should just stop, and then Ultra Sun finally evolves into its final form, Pinsir. Ew, I hate Pinsir, so the starter finally gets boxed and replaced with who else but Legends Arceus, who evolves into a Mudbray and then a Gastrodon. So at least it's not a Diglett anymore. Then I ran into a full-odd shiny Tentacool in the Mally Garden as my first encounter.
Alright.
Shiny?
A Tentacool. Shiny! Holy shit.
What the fuck? I mean, there's nothing too crazy about it as far as Pokemon go, but this is a running theme when I play Pokemon games. Every time I'm doing a full playthrough for the past multiple games I've played, I've encountered at least one full-odd shiny. 2 Spearows in Pokemon Sun, Wurmple in Pokemon Sapphire, Vanillite in Pokemon White, and now this Tentacool in Pokemon Ultra Sun. My luck with shinies has just suddenly become absurd. Anyways, after talking with Kukui and beating up Team Skull, we head up to Mount Hakulani, where I had to fight a Totem Porygon. This on its own wasn't too scary, but it called a Dusclops to help, which is significantly scarier than a Porygon. To make matters worse, Porygon also has Recover, which is just annoying. Luckily though, Ranch the Venusaur is able to beat both of them using its combined Petal Dance and Prismatic Laser. Upon heading back to Mally Garden, Team Skull's leader Guzma challenges us to a battle, and the worst possible thing happened. Already, he led with a Conkeldurr, which is terrifying, and I made the mistake of switching into Ranch when it used Bulk Up. Prismatic Laser didn't kill, and Ranch got killed on its second turn when it had to recharge. This was the most painful death so far. Not because it was preventable, because realistically, there's a 99% chance Prismatic Laser should have one-shot there. But because Ranch had been with the team for the longest out of anyone. Ranch the Venusaur was the death that taught this team that no matter how long they've been here, no matter how much they've been through, they can't let down their guard, because the second they do, they'll be the first to lose their head. Fueled by the adrenaline of watching the leader of the team die, Pokédex Pro the Golurk easily sweeps through Guzma's team, but the damage has been done. After putting Ranch to rest and evolving Pinball, Ruby, and Sapphire into a Roserade, and watching Pokédex 3D Pro the Monferno finally evolve into Glade, it was time to head off to the abandoned shopping mall where Acerolla's trial was held. Along the way, I picked up a TM for Healing Wish, which I thought it would be really funny to teach to Box just so he knows he's the only expendable party member.
Why?
It could be useful.
If
we need a sacrifice. And finally evolved Brilliant Diamond into the Torterra he was always meant to be. Brilliant Diamond was now the main character of the party, the first Pokemon I'd ever caught who sat on the sidelines watching friend after friend fall on the battlefield, now ready to stand and fight through it all. This was the Captain America of our team, the one who would lead them through any and all opposition, the one who would refuse to die no matter what hit him, and the one who I would probably become the most attached to. The totem Pokemon that I would face in the abandoned supermarket ended up being the scariest one yet. Instead of Mimikyu, I was up against Heatmor. Now, Heatmor may not seem scary, but I mean, keep in mind that the last totem I fought was a Porygon, seeing anything else was scarier, and to make matters worse, it called a Wash Rotom for help, which is objectively the most powerful Rotom form. Unfortunately, the combo proved to be too much for Pokédex Pro the Golurk, who ultimately succumbed to Heatmor's Flame Burst when I realized I didn't have a safe switch into this matchup. Picross, my Lycanroc, and Brilliant Diamond were enough to take out both Pokemon, avenging Golurk and further cementing Brilliant Diamond as the hero of the team. Upon heading to the Aether House, I learned that Team Skull kidnapped a Yungoos, and so I have to go alone to Po-Town to confront Guzma and get it back. At some point on the way there, the Kadabra in my party named Rumbleworld evolved into a Bronzong, which is one of my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon, so I definitely wasn't complaining. Blue Rescue Team, a Wartortle I had caught somewhere, also evolved into Primarina, which is one of my favorite Gen 7 Pokemon. This journey to Po-Town was honestly off to an excellent start, which means disaster just had to happen, right? Unfortunately, a wild Gligar that I failed to escape from managed to two-shot Pokédex 3D Pro with acrobatics, meaning not only was I down a team member, but I was down one of the oldest team members. Pokédex 3D Pro started as that funny little Tepig I caught in the first island, but by this point, he was the strongest member of my team and was sort of the glue holding the whole team together. If Brilliant Diamond didn't have to lead the team before, he definitely did now. After replacing Pokédex 3D Pro with Pokepark 2, the Magmortar, the quote-unquote Iron Man of our team, it was time to head to Po-Town at last, where Guzma had a twisted idea. The last time I fought him, he killed my Venusaur, so how ironic would it be if he led with Venusaur on the second battle?
That's fucked up.
This is literally fucked up! After Pokepark 2 nearly dies to this Venusaur's double edge and using Z Smokescreen to make sure it can't hit again, he switches out to a Heatmor, clearly trying to reopen some newer wounds by using the Pokemon that killed my Golurk. After knocking both it and Venusaur out, his final Pokemon is a Shiftry, which luckily is easy to take out and doesn't have any traumatic memories attached to it. But Guzma, he's way scarier in this run than in base game, just for the fact that he somehow manages to see through the code and use emotional manipulation to his advantage. Upon returning with Yungoos, it's discovered that Lily was kidnapped by Team Skull. Gladion doesn't like that and decides to take it out on me. He leads with a Frostlass, which is easily dealt with by a Lava Plume from Pokepark 2, then a Samurott, which Brilliant Diamond deals with, and then a Durant, which is pathetic to be completely honest. Rumble-U the Ferocity finally evolves into an Excadrill, and then it's time to fight Nanu before heading off to rescue Lily. Nanu's team sucks. He has a Loudred, a Phanpy, and a Swanna. If you thought I lost any Pokemon here, then goddamn, you better learn to have a little faith in me. After storming through a ton of Aether Paradise employees and Team Skull grunts, it's time for an admittedly underwhelming battle with Guzma. No tricks this time, his team is just weak. He did lead with an exploding Alolan Golem, but luckily Brilliant Diamond is able to shield everyone with a solid defense stat, and the rest of Guzma's team is laughable. Victory Bell, which barely learns any moves, Kingler, which only knows normal moves, and Frostlass, which, was easy on Gladion and is even easier now when it's weak to half my team. But upon entering Luzamine's room, she insists that she's strong enough to go into the Ultra Wormhole and fight Necrozma herself, and then immediately afterwards leads with a Noctowl, which pretty much goes to show how this entire battle went. Luzamine's team was pathetic. Sure, I underestimated her Seeking speed, which resulted in killing Rumble-U the Excadrill a little earlier than I would have liked, but man, if you're using a Seeking on your team and this is one of your most climactic fights in the story, I think you need to do some serious self-reflection and not just because you're a terrible mother. Her scariest Pokemon is Alakazam, who Brilliant Diamond easily takes out, and the rest of her team goes down to mine with ease. It's unfortunate that Rumble U had to die, but with Brilliant Diamond, Pokepark 2, Rumble World, Emerald, and Blue Rescue Team still in the party, it was pretty easy to feel invincible at this point. Luzamine apparently doesn't care that she sucks and goes to fight Necrozma with Guzma anyway, and the Ultra Recon squad say, wow, she's an idiot. Anyways, meet us at this altar on another island, we'll get her back and just let you fight Necrozma. And like, wow, okay, if that was an option all along, why would you not just go to one of the many trainers in this game that have champion-leveled Pokemon? Did you not think youngster Tristan would be capable enough to beat Necrozma? Anyways, on to Island 4. After 2.5 hours of plot and encounters, it's finally time to reach Vast Pony Canyon's totem Pokemon. Which is terrifying. Celesteela in Ultra Beast. Not only does it have incredible defensive stats and a great typing, but also an ability that boosts its highest stat every time it knocks out a Pokemon. That sounds bad, right? So imagine my terror when it calls on Moltres for backup. Fucking Christ!
What the Moltres?
What the fuck?
Calm down!
Luckily, with the help of Bulbapedia to know its moveset and the use of Z Smokescreen to make absolutely sure Pokepark 2 is able to stay alive against a Moltres with Ancient Power, I melt Celesteela into a puddle before switching into Picross the Lycanroc and one-shotting Moltres with Stone Edge. That was by far the scariest totem in the run, but we got by with no deaths. Things are looking up. Our team is at its absolute best, with only my favorites from across the adventure representing the world, as it was about time to cross dimensions to face the ultimate evil. But before that, Lily and I do our best Xenoblade 3 impression. And Nebby evolves into Solgaleo. Then Guzma and Luzamine appear from the Ultra Wormhole, and Necrozma fuses with Solgaleo to become Mega Charizard X. Okay, that's honestly less scary than Duskmane Necrozma here, so I'll take it. But then, it's time for the true hardest challenge in the game. Megalovania Tower. After climbing to the top, Necrozma transforms once again into Zekrom! Okay! You may be saying, oh, well that's easier than Ultra Necrozma. No! Stop saying that! First of all, Zekrom gets a +1 boost to every stat, meaning by default it outspeeds every single Pokemon and can likely 1- or 2-shot most of them as well. And while Zekrom may not have as devastating a moveset as Ultra Necrozma, it still gets access to both Fusion Bolt and Dragon Claw, which absolutely body my team! To say I was screwed here would be an understatement, but I'll just let the footage speak for itself here.
We're all
Still
wrong.
dying over the Zekrom doing
Holy
like the
shit,
anime.
that's so much damage. Please just one shot.
Zekrom,
It's not
Zekrom
gonna, not
just
even
appeared
close.
and-
It's faster.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Something is gonna die here, almost no matter what. I can
Maybe
switch
Emerald-
out,
Can't
and
send him to
I can
the-
switch out and sack
Will
2
is
Pokemon
dying.
to heal Brilliant Diamond, or I lose.
Can
It's
we just, like,
+1
top
speed
pick it
too.
with Emerald and then just heal stall.
No, because it's going to use Dragon Claw. It's +1 speed. It outspeeds everything.
Oh dear god.
But
Fuck.
there's gonna have to be multiple sacrifices here to win, because Torterra is the only hope of doing enough damage here.
Oh god.
Yep.
Oh
Mhm.
shit.
No!
Why am I acting like I'm surprised? We all knew that was gonna happen.
Team!
Oh, don't you roar at me!
Hopefully.
Earthquake. That's not doing anything. Z-move on Picross.
Cat's saying the it might be enough.
I'll chance it, but we're sacrificing a lot here. If Picross isn't able to one-shot, or if Picross is slower.
Uh,
So I knew Rumble World would die
no,
there.
World.
Shit. That's
Fusion
just-
Bolt.
That's gonna kill. Yep,
No!
that was a bad plan.
Cross! Oh, fuck. Well, there goes half our team.
So, I have to sack everything in order for Torterra to be able to win. I can switch into Naganadel, hope to fuck I do enough damage with Core Enforcer, and if not, then I have to switch into Pokepark 2, heal up with heal up Torterra, let it die in one hit Diffusion Bolt. Pokepark
This
2
is
has
not
Vacuum Wave, have Emerald heal, then Pokepark 2 Vacuum Wave, then Earthquake. Vacuum Wave will not do enough damage to Zekrom. No matter how much, like how little health it has, Vacuum Wave will not do enough. I feel like such a fucking loser doing a fucking damage calc, but like, with +1 and speed, it easily outspeeds. It's at 166 speed. So it's gonna kill Emerald in one hit here. Like, we're out of options.
So... There goes around.
Don't say that.
Come on. Oh!
You did fucking perfect, Brilliant Diamond. This is our only chance.
Vacuum Wave being up. Come on.
Oh my god!
Yes! Yes! Whoa! You did it! Oh! Oh dear! Oh!
The only saving graces here were sacrifices. Sacrifices that frankly should have been avoidable. Over the course of a Nuzlocke, if you're not already emotionally detached from your thousands of hours of Nuzlocking experience at least, you grow attached to your Pokemon. And of course it hurts when they die. But it hurts even more when the only way out of a situation is to sacrifice everything for even the chance of landing that one lucky hit. Everyone gave their life to stop Zekrom here, and when all is said and done, who's still there to celebrate? Who would want to celebrate? I lost Emerald, I lost Blue Rescue Team, I lost Rumble World, I lost Picross, and most painfully of all, I lost Brilliant Diamond. The first Pokemon I caught on this run, a Pokemon who sat by watching his friends fall on the battlefield from the very beginning, a Pokemon who, when his time came, was ready to make the sacrifice play. And in the end, I can't even celebrate this victory, a victory won through countless sacrifices with only Poképark 2 remaining among the ashes of what once were his friends. Even when everyone outside this tower is congratulating me on a victory, how can I feel any semblance of joy knowing what was lost today? In the end, it felt like all was lost even when there was still so much left to do. But the world keeps going. It wouldn't be fair to Poképark 2 to give up here, so I decided to rebuild and carry on. Trading card game Game Boy 2 the Vaporeon, Pokken the Buzzwole, Shining Pearl the Altaria, White the Xatu, Carl the Vileplume, and Poképark 2 the Magmortar. Until the Pokemon League, when the true final team would join the party, these were the Pokemon that would lead the way on this now dark path. Things felt hopeless, but at the same time, so long as Poképark 2 was still alive, it felt like there was a chance. Mina's trial is essentially a bunch of boss fights followed by her totem Pokemon. While fighting Mina herself, her Roselia is unfortunately able to one-shot Vaporeon with a single Petaled Blizzard thanks to a critical hit, which is sort of anticlimactic, but luckily no one else dies. Until Illumis Cacturn somehow gets a one-shot on White the Xatu with Bloom Doom. Look, if you couldn't tell, after the events at Megalovania Tower, I was starting to lose my mind a little. And at the same time, the seemingly random chance events in this game were starting to get me down as if to tell me to give up. But did I? No, of course not. I'm a stubborn son of a bitch, and I'm not giving up when Brilliant Diamond sacrificed himself for this run's success. But then the totem Scrafty kills Carl with Crunch. But it's fine, it's fine. Now we just have to fight Hapu, and we can head to the Pokemon League. And while Hapu does manage to kill Dream Radar the Seismitoad with a Swords Dance boosted X-Scissor, why should I care? This is a side character. Everyone I love is already dead. I surely don't need therapy. Gladion tries in vain to stop me from reaching the Pokemon League using his Guzzlord, but that's nothing when compared to the absolute power of my buff Mosquito. And Hoop Unbound trying to stop me near the summit, an absolute joke. And then it's time to finally assemble the final team. The true Avengers of this run. Pokepark 2 the Magmortar, the new leader of the team, the one who watched all of his friends die for this cause on Megalovania Tower. Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, who was just there to be a grass type. Ultra Sun, the starter Pokemon of this run and the only one who's been around longer than Pokepark 2, and the only one who has access to a decent poison type move. Box, who's the only expendable Pokemon even to this day. Healing Wish is so funny. Home, the shiny Caracosta who evolved from Tentacool. And Colosseum, the Cosmoem from all that time ago who is now evolved into a Mega Latios. This team was destined to win here. Destined to avenge everyone who fell at Megalovania Tower. Destined to finish the fight. The first member of the Elite Four was Mullane. Now, normally, this fight is easy to steamroll with a fire type, but unfortunately, Mullane had other plans. Sure, he had some funny jokes like Hypno and Palpitoad, but he also had a Florges, a Drapion, and a Raikou. Luckily, Ultra Sun is able to stack up 3 iron defenses and easily takes out Raikou with a few too many X-Scissors. Next up is Olivia, and while she starts with Toxicroak, Kangaskhan, and Komala, a Pokemon that my team can easily answer with Mega Latios, Caracosta, and Pinsir, her Lycanroc nearly kills Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, and her Lucario scares me, even though it's a simple matter of checking whether it knows Bone Rush at level 55 and switching in Pokepark 2. Next is Acerola, whose whole team is a joke. Blossom, Glalie, Barbaracle, Jolteon, and Electros. Sure, this team was annoying because it kept fucking paralyzing everything, but it was no big deal as I still had answers for all of her Pokemon on my team. Blossom is destroyed by Latios' Ice Beam, Barbaracle is bodied by Roserade, and I mean, do you really need me to go into detail for how easily the rest of her team went down? The last member of the Elite Four standing in my way was Kahili, but her team proved to be the weakest of all, with all of her Pokemon being taken out in 1 or 2 hits. And with that, I can at last sit on the champion's throne, with only one trainer standing to challenge me. This was the final battle, and the final chance to avenge everyone. House starts strong with a Tyrantrum, pressuring me to either one-shot with Latios or switch out immediately. Luckily, Core Enforcer is enough to send Tyrantrum to an early grave. His next move is to send in Electrode, which only manages to use Magnet Rise before meeting the same fate as Tyrantrum before it. Next up was Granbull, and since Latios was Scarfed, this forced me to finally switch out. I decided my best option against Granbull was Ultra Sun in order to use Poison Tail, and that was the correct move. Granbull managed to do some damage with Payback, but Poison Tail did half of its health before How roared me into Roserade. Ancient Power isn't enough to knock out, but he roars me right back into Latios, who now gets to choose a new attack to use. A few Psychics, and this annoying Granbull goes down with How having wasted his full restores on it. Pyroar is next, but Colosseum easily hits it with 2 more Psychics to take it out. In desperation, he sends out his starter, Meowstic, and I make the most hilarious decision ever. It's time.
No. Winter, don't do it. Winter, don't do it. No, Winter, no.
But wait.
Winter, what the fuck?
Wait. It just glitched out the game! So I switch into Ultra Sun, who gets a full heal, and fail to knock out Meowstic, who uses Black Hole Eclipse to chip down Ultra Sun a little bit. Then How uses his last full restore, Meowstic lives X-Scissor, and Ultra Sun gets hit with the full force of a Future Sight. So Healing Wish ultimately did nothing, but it was still funny, so it was worth it. Pokepark 2 takes out Meowstic with Flamethrower, and How's final Pokemon is Furfrou, who gets Z Smokescreen because I'm petty and finished off with 2 Flamethrowers. And with that, I won the Nuzlocke. But was it worth it? 18 Pokemon died to get me to this point, and in the end, the final battle wasn't even a challenge. And to make things worse, I stooped down to becoming the very thing I swore never to be. Someone who sacrifices them without feeling a thing. Sure, Box was always expendable, but after Megalovania Tower, something changed. I just allowed Pokemon to die left and right. Did those Pokemon deserve to die to get me to this point? I don't know. But what I do know is this. This victory was worth it. This victory was for all the Pokemon who died along the way, whether those deaths were justified or not. This was for Troze, for Black, for Pokedex 3D Pro, for Brilliant Diamond. So while I may feel hollow sitting on the throne at the top of Mount Lanakila, at least I know that those souls were avenged in the end. And that is all I need to know. Hey, thanks for watching! So this video is intended to be much more highly produced than it was with all sorts of artwork, but I'm in a pretty rough spot as far as money goes at the moment, and I'm not much of an artist, so thanks to Sylvia for drawing the art of Brilliant Diamond scene earlier in the video. But if you want to help make the next Nuzlocke video be what I envision this one as, please subscribe because wow, I'd love to pay artists to do work for this channel and I sure don't have enough money to do that right now.